Why, hello. Welcome into the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Just great to have you along for the ride, ladies and gentlemen. And what a ride it was yesterday. Good Lord. Have yourself a day, Philadelphia. I'm still recovering from yesterday. It was bonkers. It was a long one, but oh my goodness gracious. I am still in utter shock that Quenyon Mitchell fell. I mean, does anybody care about where your mock draft was? No, the NFL in particular, not really. 15 picks until a defensive player went off the board. That was some history made yesterday in the NFL. And the whole time I'm following it, because I got the Sixers game on, of course, and I have post-game responsibilities there. I'm going back and forth between the draft and I'm going to the Sixers, and I have the picture coming up on my phone, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, another offensive player. Okay, how about that? And then, like, my dad's texting me. He's like, did you see another offensive player? Well, not going to be any offensive linemen left. And then, Guyton was still left on the board, and it didn't go off the board. I thought he was it was a good chance that he could go to the Eagles when I saw him go off the board. And I thought, oh my goodness, like none of the corners have gone yet. Is it possible that the Eagles, who were once rumored like 24 hours prior to be going after trading up for Quenyon Mitchell, would be drafting Quenyon Mitchell, and they wouldn't have to do anything? They would just have to stand pat and just let him fall to you. I can't believe in the last 2 years, this is bonkers to me. In the last 2 years, the Eagles have gotten a player that was valued going into the draft at a much higher slot than where they were. Like Jalen Carter, we're talking about number 1, number 2, maybe number 3 overall pick. Eagles get him at 9. And then this year, Quenyon Mitchell is looked at as a guy that's going to go, 11, 12, 13. Similar to Brock Bowers was going to go 11, 12, or 13, except he actually did go at 13, I believe it was. And he goes off the board. And at that point, I'm like, okay, well, Quenyon Mitchell's probably going to be right around here. Nope. And he falls to the Eagles at 22. Hey, you know what? The first thought I had was exactly that the Eagles got a player picked at a much later spot than was anticipated, at a much later spot than he was originally valued. So that's pretty good. That falls right in Howie Roseman's lap. And then right after that, the idea of this guy having a bit of a chip on his shoulder because he knows he should have been a higher pick. We'll let you hear from Quenyon Mitchell coming up in a second about his take on where he went. Everything happens for a reason. Also, I'll just let you know right out of the gate because I know this is the most important thing. So what role do you see yourself playing here, Quenyon Mitchell, in your rookie season in particular? They got vets that I model my game after, like Darius Slade. A lot of respect for James Bradbury and all that. Said all the right things, including being able to play on the inside and the outside. And let me give you the number that I'm obligated to give you, which is 402 coverage snaps. 402 coverage snaps for Quenyon Mitchell at Toledo. 0 touchdowns allowed in those 402 snaps. Chip on the shoulder for being the 22nd overall pick when you were projected to go maybe 10 spots before that. Chip on your shoulder because you went to Toledo. And not a lot of people bragging about the MAC. And Howie Roseman even addressed that yesterday. We'll let you hear from Howie Roseman. So we'll get to all that. Yeah, Brock Bowers, 13 to the Raiders. Goodness gracious. What a day. What a day. Oh, and the Sixers only won a playoff game. Joel Embiid only dropped 50 points. Oh, and Howie Roseman also extended A.J. Brown. Goodness gracious, what a day. Look, the news is out there. Joel Embiid was asked about it after the game, so I want to talk about this just right out of the gate. Bell's palsy is a condition that Joel Embiid acknowledged that he had. There was a report from Adrian Wojnarowski. Let me just say this. There's a certain line I think people shouldn't cross when it comes to breaking news, quote unquote. And I'm the furthest person to be telling Woj how to do his job. But there are certain things that I wish, even if you learn it, okay, let's let the player alert the media or the world, if they so choose, that they have this issue. Let's let the player either make the announcement, send the tweet, post on social media, whatever. There are certain things, like you want to talk about an ankle, or you can talk about an ankle. But like when it's a condition that a player is going to need treatment for, especially when it's in the shadow of a 50-point game. Maybe let the player release his own health history or his own health news. Just my 2 cents on that, morally speaking. As far as the game went yesterday, a lot of concern in the early goings because I felt like the Sixers were playing right into the Knicks' hands by playing this chippy style of basketball. The Sixers, I firmly believe, are the better team. I thought that going into the series. I thought if Joel Embiid was healthy, the Sixers were going to win the series. The Knicks were not a concern for me. It was a 5, maybe 6-game series, and the Sixers roll on. Unfortunately, the bench was no help in the first 2 games. Love the fact that Nick Nurse made the adjustment and actually played campaign. Did you think when you were watching the game last night, did you think at all of our boy Michael Kasky-Blomain, who was like, campaign's got to be a guy coming off the bench here to help you out? Campaign comes off the bench in the second quarter, a fury of 3-pointers. He drops in, gets you 8 points off the bench like it was nothing. He scores 11 points. Do you realize in games 1 and 2, for the Sixers, they scored 7 points in game 1 off the bench. Campaign had 8 in a matter of minutes in his first run of the series. And then the bench in this game outscored the bench in the previous 2 games combined. They scored 17 points in total in games 1 and 2. And then last night, the bench scored 18 points, led by Campaign's 11 points. That's pretty great. 8 points in the second quarter, added another 3 in the third quarter. So, yeah, he was getting it done. He was certainly getting it done. Love that. Also, Kelly Oubre had 15 points. Been telling you, I've been waiting for that guy. And again, an efficient 15 points for Kelly Oubre. The less Tobias Harris tries to score the basketball, the better. The more Kelly Oubre tries to score the basketball, the better. Also, in closing out the game last night, Nico Batum on the floor, not Tobias Harris. Didn't mind that. Didn't mind that even a little bit. But bottom line, Sixers in the beginning stages of the game gave me a little concern. You had the flagrant on Lowry. You had the offensive foul on Joel Embiid. And then you have Dante DiVincenzo, who's like telling Joel Embiid, that's not how you pull a player down by his feet. This is how you pull a player. Because he did the same thing to Kelly Oubre a couple of weeks ago. They get in each other's faces. Everyone's getting pissed off. And I'm thinking, this is chippy, petty BS that the Sixers have no business at this point in the series, down 2-0 taking part in. Don't play down to the Knicks level. This only helps the Knicks. What it ended up doing was tugging on Superman's cape, and in this case, Superman was Joel Embiid. That third quarter, that he dropped 3 threes. Joel Embiid, he's never done that in a quarter. That's remarkable. And it was part of that incredible run the Sixers had there in the third quarter where Embiid hit a 3. Here's how it went down. Maxey hits a step-back 3, ties the game at 62 all there in the third quarter. Then Lowry gets the steal. Harris actually gets a jam, so that was good. That was fine. All right. Maxey gets a 3. Embiid 3, Embiid 3, Embiid 3, Lowry 3. You're up 85-73. Oubre 3. Campaign hits his the third 3 of the game. And it's 93-82 in that quarter. And then Embiid hits another 3. That's a hell of a run right there. And that was the difference in the ball game. A couple of huge differences between game 1 and 2 was a long night. Between game 1 and 2 and game 3, the big differences, okay? One, as an overall offense, you had an incredible run there in the third quarter. And what was also nuts was that the Knicks were scoring along with you, but they were getting 2s, maybe a 3, while you were just raining 3s down upon them, all right? The other thing was the help from the bench and the role players. I mean, Tyrese Maxey went out there, got his 25 points. Good on him. 7 assists, I believe, is what he ended the night with. So that's typical Tyrese Maxey night. 7 assists for Tyrese Maxey, 25 points, 9 of 21 shooting. While Joel Embiid was 13 of 19 for those 50 points, where it was 19 of 21 from the free throw line. The 19 shots he took and the 50 points, that's like the polar opposite of what was the classic Iverson game right back in the day. But that is the lowest amount of field goals needed for a 50-point game in the history of the NBA. Another historic number here. Fewest field goal attempts in a 50-point game postseason history. 19 for Joel Embiid. Bob Cousy It had 22 shots and had a 50-point game. Dame Lillard once 24, Jamal Murray 24. Here's the thing about Bob Cousy in 1953, because, I mean, come on, who doesn't have their 1953 Bob Cousy jersey, right? Well, no one in Philadelphia because he's a Celtic. But anyway, he dropped that against the Nationals, the Syracuse Nationals, who, let's see, beep-o-pop, 2 years later, was it 2 years later? No, I think it was in the 60s, moved to Philadelphia to become the Philadelphia 76ers. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. What an incredible game. And to see the Sixers and to see Joel Embiid respond the way he did after the Game 2 performance, after the Game 1 performance, but in particular after Game 2, where Joel Embiid sat in his locker with his head down, talking about how we're going to win this series. All right, man, go out there and back it up. Well, he dropped 50. Other than Bell's palsy, the knee has been obviously a topic of conversation for Joel Embiid. One thing he did say after the game that was alarming was the question was, do you find yourself trusting the knee a little bit more as you continue to play? No. Not the answer I wanted. So now I'm going to feel even more on pins and needles. And I'm not the type of person that throughout like the regular season and really in recent years, I'm not the type of person that watches Joel Embiid and every time he hits the floor, I go, oh God. Like I don't, oh God, oh, is he okay? Like I don't do that, right? But now I am. Because, I mean, I already felt like I was on pins and needles every time he hit the ground with the knee injury, and he's tweaked it twice since coming back. And now it's like, yeah, no, I just really want to play. I'm not going to sit out. I just really want to play. You think I'm going to miss more time? No, I want to win. We'll let you hear from Joel Embiid a little bit later, but those are the big things after last night's game. Also, the Phillies. Let's throw the Phillies into the mix here, people. How about that, huh? Bryce Harper back, dad's strength, home run, 5th of the season. Okay, man. Split with the Reds. Now you got a 3-game series with the San Diego Padres coming up starting tonight. And then you go out there to Angels, to the Angels of Los Angeles, Angels of Anaheim, Los Angeles, California. California Angels of Los Angeles, Anaheim. That's who you got. That's what's coming up later tonight. But Phillies split that series with the Reds. Zach Wheeler, 6 scoreless innings. Orion Kerkering comes out there. He pitches over, and you have a little bit of a tinkered a little bit with the lineup, and he actually had Alec Bohm. You actually promoted Alec Bohm to back cleanup. He rewards you with a double. Hey, had a fella. Bryson Stott gets a couple of hits for you. Bryce Harper gets a home run. Oh, my goodness. Baseball's fun. Baseball's fun. Yeah, Harper came back yesterday, his 5th home run of the season, and I am 1 billion% here for that. And you should be too. All right. Let's get into what went down. Let's start it off with the draft. All right. First and foremost, let's start it off with Howie Roseman and the NFL draft. Here's Howie on when he thought it was going to be possible that the Eagles were going to be actually getting Quentin Mitchell.
I think once we got towards the middle of the round, we saw that we were going to be okay and get a first-round player at our pick. I think it was unusual to not have action in that room. I mean, we contemplated. There were some really good players still left. We contemplated going up, but we kept going back to the fact that we felt like we had a really good chance to get a first-round player at a position of need where we were picking.
We felt that there would be a lot of offense.
I still can't believe that it took 15 picks. Leatu went to the Colts at 15. When that happened, I was like, okay, here comes the run. Here comes the run on defensive players. And I wanted the Eagles to go defense. My desire was that they take either Chop Robinson, who went right before Quentin Mitchell, or they take a corner. I did not want to take an offensive lineman in the first round. My prediction was that they were going to take an offensive lineman in the first round. I had some things to do yesterday. And everywhere I went, it was, how we trading up? I'm like, probably. I don't want him to. He's probably trading up for an offensive lineman. Thank goodness. Very rarely. When Chop Robinson went off the board, I went Quentin Mitchell. And sure enough, Quentin Mitchell. A couple of funny things about it. One, he missed the call from the Eagles. So everyone's got the 2 cell phone deal going on. I don't know. I'm not a big deal enough to have a 2 cell phone deal. Okay. Plus, if I had 2 cell phones, I think my wife be asking questions. You know what I'm saying? But he's got the 2 cell phones, right? And the Eagles call the 1 cell phone. Don't get him. Eagles call the 2nd cell phone, and then they get him. They're like, oh, yeah, by the way, you're an Eagle. Oh, cool. I'm sorry I missed your other call. And, yeah, now he's a Philadelphia Eagle. Let's hear from Quenyon Mitchell himself about coming here to Philadelphia and a little chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, I feel like my whole life I've just been trying to demand respect. I mean, coming from a small town, coming from a small college, just wanted to demand that respect. Felt like I did that through my college career and through the pre-draft process.
You'll fit right in here. Chip on your shoulder, underdog mentality, dare I say it, underdog mentality. That a guy. A couple of things on his backstory. I mentioned the 402 snaps, okay? Defensive coverage snaps, that is, of course. Coverage snaps, not allowing a touchdown. That's pretty good. Bad grades in high school. Couldn't get into one of the bigger schools, unfortunately, because of grades. Goes to Toledo. Toledo takes a chance on him. It pays off huge for Toledo. And instead of transferring out to a bigger school, he decides to stay at Toledo and reward them for their faith in him. And he rewards them with loyalty. That is a beautiful thing. Good for him. Excuse me. Also, coaches at Toledo, Jason Candle and Vince Karras are friends of Nick Sirianni. So there's a Nick Sirianni connection there. Mount Union connection there. Go figure. Mount Union is going to become the Do you know anyone at the Mount Union? It's like when Chip Kelly was just bringing in all Oregon players. Now, hopefully it doesn't work out that same way. It works out a better way. But, yeah, so there's a little connection there. Best friends, the term was used between the reporters asking the question and Quenyon Mitchell about the coaching staff out there in Toledo and the Mount Union connection with Nick Sirianni. Best buds. All right, so that's cool. They were Thunder buddies. That's great. But a very versatile player. Speed. I mentioned the physicality. I thought it was interesting that if you were following what was going on with the Pat McAfee draft experience, or whatever that's called, Bill Belichick was the first. It was the first thing Bill Belichick mentioned is how physical of a player you could be. When you have 4.33 speed as a corner, people want to focus on that. But with that speed, he can be a ball hawking corner, and also he is not afraid to get physical. The only funny thing about that is in the Vic Fangio defense, he's not going to be that physical. So I absolutely love what happened here with the Eagles and being able to get Quenyon Mitchell at 22 without having to give up anything. It's a funny thing, the NFL draft. A couple other notes from the NFL draft. Tyler Gouton, who I mentioned earlier, was still on the board when the Eagles picked. He went to the Dallas Cowboys. Micah Parsons was doing the live draft show again with Adam Lefkoe, friend of the show, Adam Lefkoe. And Micah Parsons, in case you haven't seen it, he really wanted Quenyon Mitchell. He wanted him on the Dallas Cowboys. He also really wanted Jalen Carter. So for the second year in a row, Micah Parsons gets robbed of the talent he wanted joining him on the defensive side of the football in Dallas. Wah, wah. And Howie gets him again. And his reaction was beautiful. He was just extremely disappointed. And I again thought of the Cartman gif of, drink your tears of unfathomable sadness. There you go. I don't do Eric Cartman, but you got my idea. Anyway, so Tyler Gouton was still on the board. He ended up going to the Cowboys at 29. Trouble in the NFC in Hot Atlanta. So they just gave out $180 million to Kirk Cousins. And then they draft Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington. And the very next pick, if you're Michael Parsons, or if you're Michael Parsons, if you're the Kirk Cousins fell, right? If you're Kirk Cousins, you just signed that deal, so you're happy. You see that they draft the guy that is going to be your replacement at some point, right? They see that happen. You see that happen. And then the next thing that happens is they take his wide receiver. His wide receiver goes off the board next to the Chicago Bears and Rome Odunze. Good times. And then people are asking Kirk Cousins about, hey, how do you feel about it? He's like, we were shocked. We were shocked. A little frustrated. Like, yeah. First off, never admit that. Why would you admit that? Not cool. At least when they drafted Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz was like, "Oh yeah, he's a great player." Everyone kind of knew, like, I don't believe what he's saying, but yeah. Anyway, that's what happened. That's what happened last night. Commanders got their quarterback with the second overall pick, Jaden Daniels out of LSU. Not a huge shock. The Giants got Malik Neighbors of LSU as well. Wide receiver. J.C. Latham went off the board earlier than I anticipated. I thought he'd go early. I didn't think he'd go at 7, but he went 7 to Tennessee. And that's how that shook out. J.J. McCarthy. Oh, God, who was it? Well, he went to the Vikings, but was it the Falcons? I think the Falcons said that he wasn't a top 3 quarterback in the draft. They didn't have him on their top 3 draft board. Well, Minnesota's now got him chucking the football to Justin Jefferson. So good times. A couple more things from the draft. Howie Roseman. Very blunt question. I think I got the question in here. But in case I didn't, Jeff McClain of the Inquirer was like, so Howie, you haven't had success drafting corners. Why this one?
Why this cornerback, the first cornerback you ever drafted in the first round? And why do you think you're going to get this one right?
Well, I couldn't have got any wrong in the first round if I didn't draft them, to be fair, Jeff, right? So, yeah, that's fair. Certainly, there's overconfidence in the draft for sure. 4 out of every 10 first-round picks don't make it. I understand, our success rate at the bottom half of the first round hasn't been as good as earlier in the first round. And so, we just rely on our process. We rely on who the particular player is. In this case, we think we have an extremely talented, hardworking, outside corner. So he's got all the tools in his body, the right mentality. We felt like we had really good information. Coach did an unbelievable job because of his connections at Toledo, really kind of relaying those thoughts and, us having the same conversations with the coaches. He really had a great process. And when you think about kind of he had a chance to transfer out of Toledo last year. He stayed there. He came back. He got better. He went to the Senior Bowl. He really checked the whole offseason process boxes one by one off, which is important, And obviously, he's got a lot to prove as a small school player. The MAC is not the National Football League. We understand that. We've had tremendous success with big schools. So, to take a player like this from the MAC, he has to be special, and we think this is a special person.
And that was the soundbite of yesterday's press conference. If you're going to take a player from the MAC, then he's got to be special, and they think he's special. So, in other words, he played at a school that was well below his means and talent level. I've talked about the chip on his shoulder already, but you talk about a 22nd overall pick that's projected to go at the worst 13, 14, you know what I mean? And that's a chip on your shoulder, certainly. Playing from Toledo, playing out of Toledo, a bit of a chip on your shoulder as well. But how about this? He goes to the Senior Bowl. Not just like people know he exists. People know that he's a talented corner, but they're dismissive of the idea. Oh, he plays at the MAC, though. He's not playing against top-tier talent, right? As Howie Roseman just put it, he's not playing against NFL caliber talent right there. So he goes to the Senior Bowl, and that's where he decides this is where I'm going to show what I can do. I don't want to just show up and meet people and shake hands and have good networking skills. I want to go out there and show how talented I am, that I could go up against some of the best wide receivers at the college football level and show that I am right there with them. I'm not going there just to show up. I'm going there to, quote, dominate. And that's how he helped himself. By making sure he could be, at worst, a first-round pick. And he goes 22nd to the Eagles, and I am damn excited about it. We said yesterday about pass and fail. As a corner, everyone knows when you get toasted. He seems to be up for the challenge at the NFL level. Also, like the idea is acknowledging the versatility of his game, and he's open-minded. He doesn't have to come in here and all of a sudden be a starter. He can come in here, he can learn the process, and he can learn from a couple of vets, assuming both those veterans, and Darius Slay and James Bradbury, are here. I'm still not going to be shocked if James Bradbury's gone. Look, the Eagles still have Keely Ringo, who they like. They obviously still have Darius Slay. They have Avonte Maddox in the slot, who they brought back on a 1-year deal. They have Eli Ricks. They have Isaiah Rodgers, who we didn't even talk about. He was reinstated, much to my surprise, was reinstated after checking every box of what not to do in betting on the game. He's back now. And now they added a first-round pick. So everybody who's a corner is on notice for your Philadelphia Eagles. I love it. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Let me know in the chat. But I love it. I love what the Eagles did yesterday in the draft. I love how the draft fell to the Eagles. So I'm very excited about all this. Very excited. Very, very excited about all of it for the Eagles and what it means for their defense. I think this is a position of need. And I think anything that they were going to do defensively far outweighed anything that they were going to do offensively in terms of talent available and in terms of need. If you would have told me that the Eagles were going to trade up for someone who would eventually replace Lane Johnson in like 3 years, I would have said, well, good thing you have 3 drafts to go get that guy. You don't got to do it now. And if you're all in, like you're all in right now, last thing on the Eagles, 3-year, $96 million deal for A.J. Brown, then I would say you're all in right now with this squad. This is from Ian Rappaport. A.J. Brown agreed to terms on a 3-year extension for $96 million, highest for any wide receiver in NFL history. He's now under contract through the 2029 season. Total guaranteed money, $96 million. Guaranteed, $84 million. Also the highest. He is guaranteed through this contract extension $84 million of the 96 total value of the deal. Let us never speak of the salary cap again. The salary cap, to Howie Roseman at least, is a guideline. It's just a guideline. You're fine. Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Devontae Smith. Last year, obviously, it was Jalen Hurts kicking in this year. A.J. Brown. Who wants money? Howie Roseman making it rain. Holy Stromboli. That is pretty amazing. You know, it's a shame, actually. If $96 million, if he didn't, if he didn't put Tom Brady as his avatar on Twitter, he probably would have gotten $100 million. Such a shame, social media, right? If he would have spoken to the media for like 2 weeks, right, he probably would have got like $105 million. It's just such a shame that locker room poison that is A.J. Brown. Those reports are stupid. I'm just going to say it one last time. I didn't, the ice out of the media for A.J. Brown, I was, hey, man, you do you. You got nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. That's what I said before he eventually addressed the media and said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. I'm like, look at you, me, and Thumper being on the same page. This is great. And then the social media thing, people wanted to make a big deal of the Tom Brady thing. Like, what are we even doing here? What the hell is going on here? Love it. Everything. Loved it yesterday. Yesterday was a great day. Yesterday was great. Until Bell's palsy. Until that. Yesterday was a great day. I feel for Joel Embiid. Yes, treatable and all that stuff, and he's got to take care of himself and all that. But here's how it came out after last night's game with the Sixers. We'll break down the game, of course, but just people are concerned about the state of Joel Embiid, first with his knee, now Bell's palsy. Here's what he had to say after the game when he was asked about the report. I think this is the right one.
I don't know. I just love playing the game. I don't know exactly what happened, but obviously, I guess that's a normal thing. I think he started.
Yes, my apologies. I have 2 Embiid cuts. Both are on the same length. This is the one where he was asked about the report from Adrian Wojnarowski about the Bell's palsy report.
I don't know exactly what happened, but obviously, I guess that's a normal thing. I think he started the day or two before the Miami game, and I had bad migraines, and thought it was nothing, but usually I don't like to check it out. But for some reason, I ended up, having to tell, somebody. And that's why that Miami game, it was just, my body was just, I was just not feeling it. And then obviously lately with, I don't know if, I'm sure if you Google the symptoms, you know what it is. It's pretty annoying, with, my left side of my face, my mouth, and and my eye. It's been tough, but I'm not a quitter, so gotta keep fighting through anything. But it's unfortunate. That's the way I look at it. But that's not an excuse. Gotta keep pushing.
So if you look it up, you see the symptoms. So what did I do? I looked it up. Now, I would like to deliver the cliche line of I'm not a doctor, but I'm looking it up on WebMD. When you do Google it, one of the things that comes up here is a condition that causes temporary weakness or paralysis of the muscles in the face. It causes paralysis on one side of the face, drooping face, headache, loss of taste, increased sensitivity to sound, dry eye, and dry mouth. Urgent medical attention is usually recommended in severe cases by healthcare providers. Treatable by a medical professional, requires lab test or imaging, can last several months or years. Family history may increase likelihood for some types. Well, it's not good. But the guy just wants to keep on playing. Here he is talking about, keep on pushing through any type of injury or condition that he might be experiencing.
I don't know. I just love playing the game. I just want to be on the floor as much as possible. I want to play as much as possible. I only got about maybe, 8 years left. So I got to take as much, got to enjoy it as much as possible. And, I want to win. And like I said, I think, going from the knee injury, I think mentally, the stress, maybe that might be part of it. But, I just, like I said, like I've been saying, mentally it's just been so draining, depressing. Could be part of it. So, I need to take care of myself, mentally and physically.
All right. Anybody else here 8 years there? Anybody else here 8 years? Now, the setup to that answer was after he gave the answer about the report of Bell's palsy, right? He gives that answer that you heard a minute ago, right? Gives that answer, and then the follow-up was the follow-up was, you just scored 50 points, basically, was the follow-up question. So all this considered, Joe, you just dropped 50 in a playoff game, a new career high. No one ever in the history of the playoffs has ever needed less shots to get to 50 points. And he's like, oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then he says he wants to play for 8 more. He got eight more years left. So he's going to play until he's 38. All right. I'd love to see it. I hope he's able to do it. And I hope he's able to play at an MVP level for the next 8 years, right? I bring this up not just to inform and to let you hear what he had to say, but over the last 2 days, since Joel Embiid went out there, dropped 34 points, and since Maxey got 35, and I talked about the guys on the bench, the role players on the team doing their job. We talk a lot about Joel Embiid's injury status, and we talk about Glass and Mr. Glass and all that stuff, and we talk about it in a negative sense. Joel Embiid's not going out there trying to get injured. And what is absolutely incredible is that he is trying to fight through these injuries. Later in the press conference, as I told you earlier, he acknowledged that he does not trust his knee yet. This isn't something that's like we athletes have to get through an injury twice. They have to get through the physical aspect of the injury. They have to get through the mental aspect of the injury. They first physically have to recover, and then the second thing they have to do is be able to trust whatever injury they have had. Knee injuries, ankle injuries, all that stuff. Oh, can I trust my knee? Can I trust my ankle? Can I trust my shoulder? Can I get through the mental hurdle that comes after the injury is suffered? And after you physically recover from it, can you mentally recover from it? Joel Embiid, apparently, according to what he said last night, is not over the mental hurdle of the knee. But again, the rebuttal to that is 50 points in a playoff game. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So if he is not at 100%, which we know he's not at 100%, and he's able to go out there and drop 50 on the Knicks, what a special player. And we maybe, instead of talking about the glass aspect of it, maybe we should talk about the warrior aspect of it. And I know it's always something. It's always something with Joel Embiid. Yeah, but you know what? It's pretty difficult to control what's going to happen to your knee. It's pretty difficult to control, especially if you're talking about something hereditary. If there's a family history of it, with Bell's palsy, for instance. It's pretty hard to control that as well. You know what's pretty admirable, though? The idea of fighting through it to help your team win a basketball game and to help your team at least make it out of the first round of the playoffs. Originally, I thought he was wearing glasses because he got poked in the eye in game 1. Turns out it's a little bit more than that. Before the Miami game, suffering the symptoms. All right, man. God bless you. More power to you. As far as the game goes, Nick Nurse made a huge adjustment in this game. We talked in the Miami game for the play-in game. We talked about how there's no huge adjustment made. The guys are just making the shot. Nico Batum hit 6 threes. That's the adjustment. First half, you had wide open looks. You were 3 for 18 from beyond the arc. Second half, Nico Batum happened. All right, great adjustment. So not a lot of hat tipping there to Nick Nurse. First 2 games, no help from the bench. This game makes the adjustment, says, oh, look, I got Cam Payne sitting on the bench. Didn't Cam Payne help the Suns a couple years ago with their deep playoff run? Maybe I should get Cam Payne involved a little bit. Cam Payne comes out, Cam Payne hits threes. Got you 8 points before you blinked in that second quarter. In a little bit of a lull there for the Sixers. Even when you had to take Joel Embiid out because he got his third foul, or his second foul, rather. Cam Payne comes in, starts hitting threes for you. Helps put a jolt into that Sixers offense. And that second quarter was only won by the Knicks by 1 point. They only made up 1 point on the Sixers, who unfortunately lost the first quarter by 2 points. So the Knicks only picked up 1 more point. It would have been a lot uglier. And this is where this is where the role players really come in. It would have been a lot uglier in that second quarter if Cam Payne didn't drop in 8 points in that second quarter off the bench. I mean, think about that. What does that mean? Does that mean Tobias Harris gets more shots? Does that mean Tobias Harris airballs again? Does that mean Joel Embiid, who misses some minutes there in the second quarter because of the foul problem? Does that mean that you're all of a sudden going to be losing that quarter by 9 points and you go into halftime down 11? Is that what that means? That's why it's so crucial that guys step in off the bench and help this team. It can't just be Joel Embiid. It can't just be Tyrese Maxey. In that second quarter, you see Cam Payne come into the game and you go, this is different. Oh, do you have an 8-man bench now? You have an 8-man rotation, excuse me? Or no, it should be 9-man rotation. You got 4 guys coming off the bench. All right, there, Nick Nurse. I like to see it. So he comes out there. Nico Batum goes in, hits a 3 for you. Payne hits back-to-back threes. Batum gets a great feed down low to Tobias Harris for a layup. Makes it a 38-34 game in favor of the Sixers. Embiid gets the third foul on Hammerstein. And at the 9-10 mark of the second quarter, and Joel Embiid hits both his free throws, and now you're up 40-36. Payne then adds a floater for his 7th and 8th points of the game. Makes it 42-38. Embiid then picks up his third foul. Unfortunately, you go into halftime, you're down 58-55, and then the third quarter bonanza happens where you torch the Knicks for 16 points. You won the third quarter by 16 points. Hugely thanks to Joel Embiid knocking down threes. I ran through it at the beginning of the show, but I'll run through it again. Embiid gets a jumper on Brunson, little shoulder into Brunson as well. Maxey gets the steal on the slam. Brunson answers with a jumper. Maxey hits a 3 on a step back. Lowry gets a steal pushes it ahead to Tobias Harris, who gets the jam. Then Maxey 3, Embiid 3, Embiid 3, Embiid 3, Lowry 3, Oubre 3. Sixers are up after Campaign's third 3 of the game, 93-82. And then in the fourth quarter, they just very simply controlled the game. Embiid got his fouls. Embiid went to the line. Maxey came up with some big buckets as well. And this Sixers team just controlled the game. They did something that you had not seen them do in this series, which was control the game. And in that fourth quarter, third quarter, they dictated the pace of play. In the fourth quarter, it just felt like they really controlled things. And now it's a 2-1 series. It's not a 2-0 series. It's not a 3-0 series. It's a 2-1 series. And the Sixers on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock will have that opportunity to even things up before going back to Madison Square Garden. So hopefully take a 3-2 series lead. In that third quarter, the feeling I had was the Sixers swatted the fly away. Okay, the fly of the New York Knicks, the annoying fly that you could just squash at any moment, but it's just evading, it's eluding you for whatever reason. It felt like in that third quarter, they squashed the bug. For the people on the podcast, I just clapped right in front of the microphone. I apologize. But it looked like they took control, swatted the fly away, and let's hope this is the way the Sixers play. I think Kelly Oubre is a much better player than what you saw in the first 2 games of this series. That's why I had so much confidence in him going into the playoffs. I think Campaign is exactly what you needed to do if you're Nick Nurse for that spark off the bench. I think Buddy Hield is much better on the bench. Just, Buddy, for the next 4 days, or 3 days, shoot. Just don't leave the gym. Just shoot. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to spend all day today, all day tomorrow, shooting. And then I want you to not get out of bed until an hour before game time. Don't shoot anything on the day of game. Have that little rest period. Let the new feelings settle in, and then come out, hit 5 threes, and help us win. I think Buddy Hield, I'm going to use my mom's favorite phrase in sports, is due. I think Buddy Hield is due for a game where he just goes off from 3. He hits 5 threes in a game, whatever it might be. He's due for like a Nico Batum game is what he's due for. And I'll cross my fingers that that's the case. To go back to the beginning of the game again, I really don't like the Sixers getting involved in a chippy battle at all with the New York Knicks. They're above that. Don't play down to that level. I mentioned Joel Embiid getting the tangle up there at the under the basket. Some people were like, they missed the elbow on OG before that. No, that's basketball's a contact sport. That's an example of contact. Joel Embiid had no business, just to say this, no business trying to pull a player down from his legs. That's how people get hurt. That's how you break an ankle. That's how you twist an ankle. That's how you get knocked out for a series. No business in doing it. Just like Dante DiVincenzo had no business doing that to Kelly Oubre a couple of weeks ago. I think it was it was their final matchup of the season. I think it was of the regular season. So just to acknowledge that. Then you end the Phils real quick. Rob Thompson tinkering with the lineup. I'm here for it, baby. Alec Boehm deserves to get the 4-hole spot, deserves a bat cleanup. Bats clean up yesterday. Didn't expect it, but I'm glad I saw it. He did get a double in yesterday's game. Also, Orion Kirkering. Let's see if I have this right. Orion Kirkering comes into the game in the 7th inning. You get 6 scoreless from your starter, Zach Wheeler. Phillies, by the way, their numbers to start the season, their ERA as a team, if you haven't heard this number, if you haven't seen this number, it is remarkable. They have the second lowest ERA as a starting rotation. Second lowest ERA since 1915, which is 2 years after they started keeping track of what the hell an earned run average was. The Phillies right now in their starting rotation has the lowest ERA since 1915. Second lowest in history. Their ERA as a starting rotation through 26 games is 2.12 as a starting rotation. That's this year through 26 games. In 1915, they had an ERA through their first 26 games of 1.72. So, yeah, I'd say they're off to a pretty good start. And yesterday, Zach Wheeler continued that start. Another game where he didn't have his best stuff, or excuse me, I should say a Philly starting pitcher didn't have his best stuff, but he gutted it out. He had a 6-pitch second inning and then a 34-pitch third inning. So, yeah, that was an example of gutting it out. And in total, through 6 innings, scoreless baseball, 103 pitches, lowering his ERA to 193. He gave up 1 hit, but did surrender 4 walks and struck out 8. The big difference in this game, between this game and yesterday, 2 days ago, the game 3 of this 4-game series, the Phillies got the big hits. And they had the big inning. They had a 3-run 4th inning, and then they scored 1 more in the 6th inning. But that big inning that they had where they got multiple big hits in that 3rd inning, they got the Bryson Stott RBI triple that played to Nick Castellanos after his leadoff single. Kyle Schwarber then brought Stott home on a sacrifice fly to left field. And then Bryce Harper, while being taunted by a fan, overrated, belts a dad strength 2-run home run after a Trey Turner ground rule double to right center field, 384 feet, to give the Phillies a 4-0 lead, and then Stock on an RBI single after Brandon Marsh reached in the 6th to cap off the Phillies scoring. Everything was fantastic. But to go back to Rob Thompson, move Alec Boehm to the 4 spot to back cleanup. And then Orion Kerkering comes in the 7th inning to pitch, and he gets a 1-2-3 inning. And then Orion Kerkering comes out again. What? An up-down for Orion Kerkering? Orion Kerkering comes out there. He gets 2 outs in the 8th inning. Jeff Hoffman comes in. Jeff Hoffman shuts down the inning, goes into the 9th inning, gets out of that inning as well. Phillies wrap up a 5-0 victory. I thought the up-downs were poison. Apparently not. So Phillies get the win. 9:40 start time tonight. Aaron Nola gets the ball against Joe Musgrove of the San Diego Padres. Let's get to the chat. Check how all you guys are feeling on this fine Friday morning. It's Friday. Everybody, happy Friday to you. Let's see what we got going on here. Sean Gillespie, good morning. Sean Gillespie, what a night. A corner and Embiid went off. Please keep it coming. I know, right? As my Baltimore cousins would say, I know. All I got to say is today is a Ric Flair. Woo! Thank you, T-Bro. IBH, what's going on? I had a teacher at Archbishop Wood High School, Mr. Devlin, who I saw at Costco like a couple of months ago. Mr. Devlin, what's up? Still, it's unbelievable. Mr. Devlin looks exactly like, actually, I shouldn't say that now. He still looks exactly like a young prime Ric Flair. Shout out, Mr. Devlin. Good to see you. When sorrows come, not in single spies, but in battalions. I remember that from English class. That was Hamlet. Yeah, it was Hamlet. Mr. Farzetta, what does that mean? When it rains, it pours. Very good, Mr. Farzetta. Thank you. Anyway, Family Guy brain. Sorry, Dev. Morning, Farzi. We got Mitchell. I thought he would get an edge player in round 1. I thought Chop Robinson was coming to the Eagles. He went off the board just before they picked. Yeah, to the Dolphins. That's right. Balls palsy now. It's certainly a great sports morning. Philadelphia hat trick. Hells yeah, IBH. April. Good morning, April. Al Voker. Okay. Gangrene, baby. Hells yeah. Sean Kilrain, good morning. Dan, good morning. Sean, hello again. Sixers, 50-plus points, 5+ threes in a playoff game. The answer, and Embiid. Hells yeah. The only Sixers with 50-plus points, 5 threes in a playoff game. The answer, and Embiid. Love it. Bob. Hello, Bob. I'm Mark. When I saw quarterbacks going, I told my brother, we're getting someone good. There was a run. I want a cornerback or Strong's what? In the first round? Okay. Fair enough. IBH. Poor Micah. Sean, I'm glad you like my Cartman. T-Bro, 190 pounds with a 4.3 speed, squats 505 pounds. Hell yeah. Let's go. Parsons' reaction was hilarious. It was pretty fantastic. Ooh, Cooper DeJean. Yeah, falling to the second round. That is pretty wild. Yeah, pretty bonkers. Sean Kilrain. I'll trade Burnt Berry as of right now for a 6th-round pick. Who's taking that contract? I don't disagree with you at all. That's a tough contract. Long-term health. I'm worried for his health. I'm worried as well. Kane, what's up? Still don't have faith in Nick Nurse. The fact that you would still play Buddy after those 2 games in New York, just idiotic. Well, hopefully he broke the code. Hopefully he broke the code by getting Campaign in there. Eric Wisniewski, happy they took the corner. So am I. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are wonderful, as per usual. Hey, bonus me today, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be on Fox 29 coming up in a little bit at 7:45 this morning. So hop on over to Fox 29 a little bit later and catch the shenanigans of the Balds. Yeah. All right. See you guys later. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll be back with you guys. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel. That's Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. I'll be on after the Phillies game tonight for your Phillies postcast. Hopefully another win for your fighting Phils. Have a great day, everybody. Catch you guys tonight and then again on Monday. See you later.